Diaspora UA welcomes you on our channel. Today we have our guest Garri Tabach, ex-military U.S. Marine.
Me.
No, I'm sorry, U.S. Navy. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for honoring calling me Marine, because it's a huge honor to be a Marine. It takes a special person to be part of a Marine Corps. Hoorah to all my Marine brothers and sisters. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Bohdan, and glory to Ukraine, glory to Ukrainian armed forces who are fighting so bravely to defend all of us, all of our values, and all of our lives, trying to destroy present-day, modern-day evil that was created partially by us and now exists in that part of the world, and spreading its tentacles and spreading its metastases all over the world, including the United States.
How would you describe the situation in Ukraine now? You visited Ukraine and you communicating with your colleagues. How do you think it's evolving?
It's a very difficult situation. There's fighting very hard, very bloody fighting going on in the front. At the front, there's also a terror war going on against the Ukrainian civilian population, infrastructure, nuclear sites. People are kept in fear. There's very little electricity, very little energy, heat, light in Ukraine. Cities are dark in the modern cities because Russians are continuing to bombard them with their missiles and destroying their infrastructure, destroying the power grid, which keeps Ukrainians in a huge discomfort. And I think it's wrong. I think it's very, very wrong that we, civilized world, cannot even provide protection for that country who's struggling to be independent, who's struggling to share our values in the West. That is very, very sad to watch these people. Many of them are continuing to leave Ukraine because they have to, save their children or elder parents, because there are just no means to survive in the cities, in the major cities in Ukraine, where there's no heat. My friend who runs a children's hospital says it's cold. It's wrong that the doctors have to, warm themselves, get warmth from the body heat of their patients when they perform a surgery in the dark. It's like in medieval times. And we, the civilized world, continue to stand by and watch this destruction of nation going on. It's sad. It's very sad that we're not engaging enough to stop this destruction of a nation, destruction of a modern, a great nation, proud nation. And I don't know when we're going to engage ourselves in it, but I hope it's going to happen soon. I was listening to a speech of the Secretary General of NATO, and in a 3-minute speech, 30 times he mentioned that we support Ukraine, but he never said how we support Ukraine, except that he said that we're going to give them diesel and generators. Never said even how many generators. I mean, this is a NATO. This is the largest military organization in the history of man. And we're giving generators, we're acting like Red Cross, or I don't understand that. Instead of giving all the weapons, all the needed material that is needed for Ukraine to finally destroy this evil, finally to protect the entire world from it, we're giving them generators. And it's like 300 generators, I heard, which is ridiculous. We should give them all the anti-missile defense, anti-aircraft defense, anti-air defense, at least that. We should give them offensive weapons that Ukrainians can go into counter-offensive. But so far, it is very little, and it is very sad. It reminds me when I was in Poland, when I served in Poland, and I was studying the Jewish tragedy that happened there, when in a ghetto, the people would get minimum food, minimum amount of food, minimum amount of calories. and expecting, and they were saying, okay, let's not upset the Germans, let's not upset the SS. Thank them for that what they give us. They give us, it's enough to survive, barely to survive, barely to feed ourselves. Let's thank them. The same thing reminds me now. We give Ukraine these breadcrumbs, and they're supposed to thank us. So at least we're giving them something to survive. It's said we should give them all of the weapons that they need. And we have Lend-Lease law. Our Congress has voted. What I mean is this is a will of our people, will of American people, through Congress, through representation, to give Lend-Lease to Ukraine, give them everything that they necessary for a quick victory with a minimum destruction, with a minimum loss of life. But Lend-Lease already 10 months, half of the time that's all allocated for Lend-Lease is already gone, and we have given absolutely nothing in the form of Lend-Lease to Ukraine. So I think that our administration is not is not executing the will of the people, is ignoring what American people want.
I remember in the beginning of this war, Senator Rubio from Florida, he offered... From Texas. No, Rubio, is he from Texas?
Oh, Rubio.
Rubio from Florida.
From Florida.
It doesn't matter too much, but he offered... that's okay. He offered the same thing what George Bush did during the Russian war with Georgia. He sent a few military ships in Black Sea and a couple humanitarian aid planes in Tbilisi, in capital of Georgia. And after that, Putin stopped the war. How come George Bush he wasn't scared of a nuclear war, and he wasn't afraid of Putin, and nothing happened. So now Biden afraid of Putin, and actually Russia is much weaker than years ago, if you compare. And how would you react on this?
Right, and Ted Cruz also, the senator from Texas, with whom I just confused. Yes, he was also warning about this war. Unfortunately, yes, when Russia tried to invade Georgia, and they did invade it, we put our ships in the Black Sea and told them to pull out, and they did, because we send our airplanes, we send our ships in. Then Obama came as a president, was elected as president. The first thing he did, he sent Secretary Clinton with a red reset button. I think at that point, Putin realized who is weak and who is submitting to him, and started to prepare to him when he invaded and annexed Crimea and started a war in Donbass region. Nobody said anything to him. Everybody sanctions, but sanctions can be go around because we still have to do oil and this. But when President Biden took over, first thing he did is he lifted the sanctions off of Russia. Although he said he would put sanctions on, he stopped oil and gas
production in the United States.
Production in the United States, which raised prices, had a very bad relationship with Saudi Arabia, and pulled out our ships
from Black Sea. He did the opposite what George Bush did to stop the war.
And he never sent an ambassador to Ukraine, showing and saying if it's going to be a large invasion, it's one thing. If it's going to be small invasion, it's another thing. And saying that we would never commit our troops to this war, which no president has ever said that. We always have that option. We always have the option of our aircraft carriers. And so forth, he kind of invited Putin to invade Ukraine, and and then offered President Zelensky to abandon Ukraine, to abandon his country, and give him an asylum in the United States on the first day of the war. Thank God President Zelensky refused that and stayed with his people, which I guess also upset President Biden. And when Zelensky asked for more help from Biden, more weapons, more offensive weapons, Biden apparently yelled at him, saying you should be thankful for what you get, and so forth, so forth. So it's actually, yeah, it seems like it wasn't Trump that was in collusion with Russia, but Biden and Obama team that were. And also, when Crimea was annexed, our Congress voted to give lethal weapons to Ukraine, which Obama and Biden put a veto on it, and there were no lethal. And it's only when Trump came into power, he lifted that veto in Ukraine, where it was able to get Stingers and Javelins and sniper rifles and so forth. I mean, minimum, but still they got something. So, yeah, it seems, but again, why do we let Russia blackmail us with nuclear weapons? I don't understand that. We have nuclear weapons. What's the point of it? If they're going to continue blackmail us with it, the next thing it's going to be Kazakhstan, then Alaska. They'll send, okay, otherwise we're going to have a nuclear war. You don't want a nuclear war, right? So give us Alaska. But we can't let KGB thugs blackmail us, or let KGB thugs destroy a nation because we're afraid of confrontation with him. He feeds on it. That gives them energy. That gives them strength.
We have formula of success based on history with George Bush, and it can be done any minute, even now. Send just humanitarian help, and Black Sea, he can send a few ships. That's it, just to repeat what happened before. But I think
you can't send ships to Black Sea anymore. Unfortunately.
Can't?
No, because Turkey blocked it. Dardanelles and Bosphor, they blocked it for military ships. No military ships can enter Black Sea. Not NATO. No ships. They blocked it, and they have the right to do so. And therefore, Russia cannot resupply ships into the Black Sea. So once Ukrainians destroy all the ships, all of the fleet in the Black Sea, Russian fleet, then it's going to be military ships.
But as you mentioned before,
no warships.
As you mentioned before about Lend-Lease, if Ukraine got this law implemented, I think Ukrainian army would push out already by this time Russians, and there will be no problem. But instead of Lend-Lease, Biden asking every couple weeks 10 billion, 40 billion, 60 billion. And we know from this 40 billions, only about 10% went to military aid for Ukraine. So there is conflict of interest.
Right, and no offensive weapons at all. That's why there should not be what Republicans are saying, blank check to Ukraine, where we can see there could be a lot of corruption with it and all that. But there should be Lend-Lease. There should be hardware that's going to Ukraine. Hardware and offense in those packages of 10 billion, 12 billion, 40 billion, there are no offensive weapons. There is no heavy equipment at all. None. Zero. And no other countries are not giving them either to Ukraine because they follow the lead of the United States. When we pulled out our embassy out of Kiev, out of Ukraine, which we've never done before, actually. Even in World War II in Moscow, we were there until the end, until the Germans were right there already. And when the Russian government evacuated, our embassy evacuated with them. I mean, Soviet government, sorry. We didn't pull out our embassy out of Afghanistan when they were saying, we got to pull out, we got to pull out. But out of Ukraine, we pulled out before the war even started. So, I mean, it's a betrayal. I think it's a betrayal of Ukraine. We've discussed that before. The thing is, right now we need to pressure, maybe with the Republican Congress in January, maybe we'll be able to pressure a little bit more to give Ukraine the weapons to execute the Lend-Lease, to execute the will of the American people.
I hope that will happen when the Republican will come to Congress and will be controlling at least something.
But meanwhile, every day, Ukrainian children are being bombed, they're getting killed, they're getting crippled. Ukrainian civilian population suffers a great deal. I mean, I think I pray for them every day, but I think praying is not enough any longer. We need to do something about it. We need to go, and God is not going to help us if we're not going to be willing to help ourselves. God is not going to help us if we're not willing to help our brothers and sisters in need, the ones that are under tyranny. We as Americans have always helped the people who were under tyranny, always helped people who struggled, who wanted to fight for freedom and independence. This is the first time that I know that we're failing so miserably. We're failing so miserably, standing by. The entire civilized world is failing. We don't even have anti-air defenses for Ukraine, not enough. That's why those Russian old Soviet missiles are getting through and killing Ukrainian civilian population. And now it's going to get cold.
It's very sad, but President Biden started from this failure in Afghanistan. We witnessed everything that he betrayed the allies, and now he's betraying Ukraine. And he trying to pretend he's helping, but he's helping only for his own goals, I think, not giving enough protection and weapon that he's saying he is giving. And that's corruption, and I hope something will change. Thank you so much for helping Ukraine. Thank you for everything.
You, I think I'm not helping Ukraine. I think Ukraine right now is helping everybody else. Ukraine is fighting for everyone else. And today we're all, no matter what color of our skin, what religion, which country we live in, we all should be Ukrainians. Today we all must be Ukrainians. Thanks to Ukraine, to the brave nation, to this fighting spirit that they have in their armed forces, and to the Ukrainian people. Thank them. We should thank them all for it. And thanks for inviting me again.
Thank you for coming.
We will prevail. We'll back to back. We'll stay strong.
Thank you. See you next time.
Bye.